The Hyperion Cantos is an epic, award-winning science fiction series written by American author Dan Simmons. It's divided across books Hyperion, The Fall of Hyperion, Endymion, and The Rise of Endymion, and takes place in a rich variety of worlds through the eyes of vivid and intriguing characters. The Hyperion Cantos takes the reader on an astounding journey through space and time. PreHydera and the Big Mistake. Words bend our thinking to infinite paths of self-delusion, and the fact that we spend most of our mental lives in brain mansions built of words means that we lack the objectivity necessary to see the terrible distortion of reality which language brings. The word Hyperion is used to describe a journey from one place to another, more desirable place. The term Hyperion became used almost exclusively to refer to the mass exodus of humanity from Earth to the stars, following the PreHydera cataclysmic event known as the Big Mistake. The Big Mistake was brought about when a team of physicists in Kiev created an artificial black hole in a laboratory, which then plunged to the centre of the Earth and began consuming it from the inside out. This event instigated a period informally called Bad Times, which lasted for over a century. During this time, Earth would go into periods of planet-wide spasms as the black hole consumed portions of the Earth's centre. Eventually, Earth became uninhabitable and subsequently supposedly destroyed. The result was the Hyperion, the mass exodus and diaspora of humanity to hundreds of stars in the galaxy. What remained of what became known as Old Earth was a cloud of debris around which the Moon, home to military bases, presumably still orbited. Post-Hyperion and the Web Era. Following the Hyperion came the Web Era. This refers to the period the hegemony of man was the primary governing body of humanity. The hegemony was a socio-politico-cultural super-entity comprising one of the primary human factions dominating the galaxy. It ruled and unified over 150 billion human beings over 200 worlds. The Web Era was called so after the World Web, a collection of colonised planets connected via instantaneous portals known as Farcasters, as well as over many colonies in the Outback, those not connected by Farcaster, or Protectorate. Those worlds chartered into the hegemony became fully accessible via Farcasters and the instantaneous communication technology known as Fatline, and therefore became commercially connected to the rest of the web. Tourism flowed among the web worlds, facilitated by instantaneous travel and the 100 planets spanning touristic structures such as the River Tethys and the Grand Concourse, an expansive shopping, restaurant and bar mall that spanned 100 kilometres, consisting of many different segments on multiple worlds connected via military-sized 200-metre high Farcasters. During the Web Era, most notable worlds part of the web included Tau Ceti Center, Barnard's World, Mao Covenant and Lussus, among many others. The Outback or Protectorate worlds, including the planet Hyperion, had limited connection to web planets, and were sometimes linked only by a single Farcaster to an entire planet, in addition to conventional space travel. In this era, at the time of the events in Hyperion and the Fall of Hyperion, humanity had explored over 8,000 worlds. A large majority of these worlds were explored only superficially, however. Of the 8,000 known worlds, less than 400 were inevitably colonised. Of these colonised worlds, 176 were fully integrated members of the World Web. The remaining 200 were colonial and protectorate outback worlds. 9 of the worlds were labyrinthine worlds, worlds containing a mysterious complex of underground tunnels not created by any natural means. The tunnels were hypothesized to have been carved by an ancient race named the Builders by the hegemony. The Fall. We are created for precisely this sort of suffering. In the end, it is all we are, and these limpid tide pools of self-consciousness between crashing waves of pain. We are destined and designed to bear our pain with us, hugging it tight to our bellies like the young Spartan thief hiding a wolf cub so it can eat away our insides. What other creature in God's wide domain would carry the memory? The end of the Web Era came with the Fall, which is short for the fall of the Farcasters. It references the destruction of the Farcaster network and the resulting end of the Farcaster-dependent World Web. As a consequence of the fall, humanity could no longer depend on the extensive use of Farcasters to maintain its interstellar society, and most interplanetary commerce and tourism came to a halt, until a robust interstellar Hawking Drive travel network was established. Upheaval took hold on most of the worlds connected by the web, with families being torn apart by tens or hundreds of light years distance between them. As a further result, multi-world structures such as the River Tethys and the Grand Concourse ceased to exist as they once had. The fall marks the end of the Web Era and of the hegemony of man, and the beginning of the Pax Era. The Pax Era. The universe is indifferent to our fates. This was the crushing burden that the character took with him as he struggled through the surf towards survival or extinction. The universe just does not give a shit. The fall of the Farcasters caused great destruction to planetary relations and completely reshaped the human interstellar landscape. Planets that were once central, such as Tau Ceti Center, became backwater worlds. The industrial worlds, without their own agriculture, suffered famine and riots. The Pax Era refers to the historical period coming after the Web Era and arising from the fall of the Farcasters. It was a time in which the Pax became the primary governing body over most worlds of the human diaspora. The Pax was brought into power by the rise of the Roman Catholic Church. Once large enough, the Church established a strong military presence on Pacem, which eventually spread to other planets. During the events described in Endymion and the rise of Endymion, the Pax exercised significant influence on human worlds. One of the main tools used to achieve dominance over most human beings was through the cruciform, a method that allowed people to become quasi-immortal. Entire worlds converted to Christianity and submitted to the control of the Church's governing entities embodied in the Pax. Consequently, the Pax took control over interstellar travel and commerce among former hegemony worlds. It also had complete military control of human space, possessing state-of-the-art faster-than-light technology such as the Gideon Drive, a starship drive technology that allowed for instantaneous travel between 2 points in space. Commerce was controlled by trade organisations collectively known as the Pax Mercantilis, which had its headquarters orbiting Pacem at the massive Taurus Mercantilis superstructure, a large array of artificial habitats. As Tau Ceti Center had once been the centre of human civilization, during the Pax Era, Pacem, home to the Vatican, became the most important and capital planet. Its population ballooned and real estate prices skyrocketed, which didn't stop people from living near to the world in an array of orbital living units. Despite dominance of the Pax, it didn't forcibly convert people under its control, but it did exert constant pressure. There were, however, a number of worlds that resisted conversion. The shared moment. The Pax Era lasted for 300 years and came to an end following what was known as the Anean shared moment, in which information was transmitted to all humans that detailed the reality behind the Pax, revealing to all mankind the true motives and intentions of the Catholic Church. As a result, much of humankind turned against the Pax, taking back control of their worlds, including Pacem, which was retaken by reforming forces within the Church. Finally, all-out war was declared against the Pax. Some forces remained loyal to the Pax, which ended in the final Pax stronghold planet of St. Teresa. The Anean Era. Aenea heard the music of the spheres. She resonated with the void which binds, which resonates in turn to sentient life and thought, and then she used the almost illimitable energy of the void to take the first step. The Pax Era was followed by the Anean Era, during which most human space was controlled by the Aeneans. The Aeneans were the followers of Aenea, who adopted her philosophy. They were thought of as post-human godlike beings due to their binding powers of the void which binds, more commonly known as Planck space, which is an invisible and intangible domain which permeates the known universe. While its precise nature was poorly understood, it was used by various entities in the universe for travel, communication, and even habitation. The Aeneans were highly empathetic and wanted to spread Aenea's teachings and the virus known as Aenea's DNA sacrament all over the universe. They offered the opportunity to join them to all humans they encountered. The Aeneans also followed Aenea's philosophy regarding the evolution of life, in that she taught that evolution had a direction and determination. She spoke of the day when the universe would be green with life. Diversity, she taught, is one of evolution's best strategies. As a result, the Aneans wanted to spread life and diversity everywhere in the universe, even beyond colonised space. They wanted to pass their gift, as they saw it, of what they believed was godhood. To serve this purpose, they helped thousands of cultures cast off from human space into the unknown. The Aneans developed a modified hawking drive, rebuilt, repopulated, and repopularized the ancient hegemonian capital Tau Ceti Center, turning it into an idyllic hub for their civilization. The Aneans also had the ability to freecast, a way for an individual to farcast between locations unassisted by any technology. The only known way to acquire this ability was to become infected by Aenea's DNA sacrament. It is stated by Aenea that Jesus of Nazareth, the central figure of the Christian religion, had also attained the ability to freecast. Hyperion arose and on the stars lifted his curved lids and kept them wide, until it ceased, and still he kept them wide, and still they were the same bright, patient stars, and with a slow incline of his broad breast, like a diver in the pearly seas, forward he stooped over the airy shore, and plunged all noiseless into the deep night.